It's finally finished, but we're still stuck in Supernatural Purgatory. This podcast is a rewatch of all 15 seasons and hopefully our way to finally escape this show.
Join us once a week for a fun, informal discussion on each episode and leave comments on any specific upcoming plot points you'd like us to discuss.
This episode is episode 19, so that's why we switched, because it's my turn to do the intro, is Provenance. I actually didn't know what it meant, but we do get a definition in the episode. I was going to say description, but that's not right. It's definition.
I was really glad when Dean brought it up because I didn't know either. What does it mean?
No. I was like, is it a Bible thing? Because it sounds like it could be a Bible thing. Like, maybe.
So this episode was written by David Ehrman and directed by Phil Segresha. And this episode was rated 8.8 out of 10 on IMDb, which felt really high considering it was an episode I had no recollection of.
So I didn't until I started to watch it. And then I was like, oh yeah, I remember this.
I didn't know what episode it was until I saw Sarah.
Okay.
Yeah, completely. Until then, no recollection. I was like, what is this? Maybe
Really?
I've never seen this episode.
There was something about that painting. I guess it's just creepy that I as soon as I saw what it was, I was like, oh yeah, this one. Okay, all right. And to go back to Phil Segresha, he gets to direct some of these crazy episodes. Like, I'm just looking through, and I guess it's not really a spoiler, but one of them's Shut Up, Dr. Phil, Party on Garth, Everybody Hates Hitler. Like, these are some of these are coming up in 2011. Let's see, Shut Up, Dr. Phil is season 7.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he gets to do, I guess, some more fun episodes. I mean, he did this one and he did Nightmare, which Nightmare was not fun.
No, it wasn't fun. This episode though, it was funny. I was like,
it was.
In this, I was laughing so hard.
Yes, me too. I guess kind of felt a little bit abrupt from last week, especially with there was a bit of a turnaround for Dean. It was a completely different person. Not necessarily a bad thing because it adds a facet to his personality and all that kind of stuff. But it was we had this very emotional, hard hitting Dean episode, and then suddenly he's Playboy Dean.
Yeah, it was a weird sort of juxtaposition. Whereas Sam in this episode, I don't know. I like this episode. Yeah, I like this episode for Sam. I'll be honest. It's a good Sam episode. And it's a nice Sam episode without it having to be linked to the main storyline, which we were talking about before and saying he didn't really get many of these standalone episodes where it's kind of about him and his story. But this kind of is one of those. I know it's still linked to Jessica and all of that, but at least it kind of fleshed out his character a bit more, which we were kind of complaining about the last few episodes.
Yeah. And I recognized his theme. He does have a theme. Yay. It just sounds very similar to the overall Supernatural sound. I think that's why it's so difficult to distinguish. They use a theme I can't really say it's a theme because I don't know if it comes up again.
Yeah.
But it definitely, for an emotional moment, they use a different tune that we haven't heard yet. It's at the very end of the episode, so I'll bring it up then. So let's get into it.
Let's do it.
So, okay, for me on Netflix, there was no recap. Absolutely, there was no skipping. There was no option to do that. It was just went straight into this episode.
It was the same on the DVD. So yeah, this is the first episode with no recap.
So I guess that kind of indicates that it was going to be a little bit of a different story, maybe, because there's nothing to really reference, I guess. I don't know. It's just an interesting choice.
Also, this episode felt long to me. So I don't know if they used that time. I'm not sure.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you're right. I think they probably did.
Yeah, it did definitely feel a little bit longer. Yeah, I mean, so the opening shot in this is a couple putting up a painting, and they said that they've bought it at an auction. So it's not something that I would buy at an auction, just saying.
Yeah, what? It's a close up. Oh, it's a family portrait from the 1900s, and so okay. I had this conversation with a friend a little bit ago because I was looking for in an antique shop for like old tintype pictures because they're really special. They're like in this little case and it's a person. But she was like, "Isn't that really creepy?" And I'm like, "Kind of, but not really." But I definitely wouldn't get like a whole family like. And the whole point of getting like one of these tintypes is the whole thing it comes in, and it's like it's very personal. It's because it's not like any bigger than like a passport picture. It's really not any bigger than that. It's not this giant painting. But yeah, even still, like I wouldn't buy a photograph of a whole family. That feels weird.
I just think it's odd to like, and they put it like in their living room above a fireplace. I just think it's weird to have a picture of another person's family in your house.
Yeah,
I don't know. Is that weird? That's especially like, okay, unless you know them, that's okay. But these people are like long dead.
And they're clearly not relatives either.
Yeah, they're not. So it's just, you've just taken this picture, these people that you didn't know, I guess for the style. I don't know. It seems weird to me. The fact that it's,
yeah,
I guess it's not a photo, is it? It's a painting, but I guess a photo would be even stranger to hang prominently in your house.
Yeah.
But, okay. Yeah. I mean, so they bought it, and we as a viewer see it start to move. Ooh, I hate moving paintings. As they're kind of getting ready to go to bed, they're like getting a bit frisky, and so the woman goes up to bed first, and there's kind of like creepy things happening as he follows her up, and then all the lights go off, and then he walks into the bedroom and finds her just covered in blood.
It's so creepy too because they say something that has never really been said before. He's like, "There's a weird smell."
Yeah.
And of course it probably has a smell. Like, I'm fortunate to have never had to be in a room where there's been that much blood. So there would be a very strong, so it's just there's certain moments in this episode that feel very based in reality, and this is definitely one of them.
This is one of them because I mean, you're right, like that iron tinge. So yeah, unfortunately, she dies, and then he sees something and screams as well. So we could assume that he also met his demise.
Title card.
Title card. That's the beginning of the episode.
Yep. So we have another one of our. We're starting to see the pattern here with their openings now, that they've kind of gotten into their rhythm of like either blood splatter, scream, or some sort of action, and then that leads straight into a title card. We haven't had a subtle open in a long time. Yeah,
I appreciate it. I like it a lot.
Me too. I'm looking forward to when they get more interesting with their I think we said this before, with their title openings.
Yes, yeah, I look forward to that. I can't remember what the title card is for season 2, so I'm looking forward to seeing that for the first time.
Yeah, no, I don't remember what it is either. Yeah, that'll be good.
We go to a bar, and we see Dean getting the tail end of a phone number from a girl who's brandy with a Y or an I, that we never find that out. And Sam's at a table looking for a case, and he kind of sees the story of that we've just seen with the couple being murdered, and he sort of tries to call Dean over, but he's like, no,
hang on.
And I noticed when he does come over, Dean brings over 2 full beers, even though Sam has one full already on the table, so he's clearly in for a night, Yeah.
Yeah, clearly is. And he's probably like, I'm sure it's more of like Dean going up and not wanting to just get one beer and just being like, let me just get Sam's while I'm here, kind of thing.
Yeah. And they have those, okay, I don't know, again, getting hung up on this. They have those mugs, like a stein, that I didn't know were like used in America. I've never seen them really on, I don't know. They just seem to me so very British or German, I guess, as well. These like glass steins. Like everybody's grandma has some of those in their kitchen.
For sure. It's probably like, it could also be like the area that they're in. Like you go to certain parts of the States, and because of the immigrants who migrated there, they brought it over. So if you go to like a more sort of European or like mainland Europe so like Germany, Netherlands areas, I feel like you find that kind of stuff.
I just always equate American bars with these beer glass. I don't know why, but yeah, I don't know. It brought up something in me. I was like, oh, it's those mugs.
You know what's funny? Like, now that you say it, I'm like, oh yeah, it did stick out. Like, it stuck out a lot.
I don't know, just these little things today. Yeah. So Dean says that he wants to take some shore leave, like he's in the Navy, and he's basically saying, you know, I've got a good thing going with that girl back there, and Sam's like, well, who are you pretending to be this time?
So what are we today, Dean? Are we rock stars? Are we Army Rangers?
Reality TV scouts looking for people with special skills. Hey, it's not that far off, right? By the way, she's got a friend over there. He'll probably hook you up. What do you think?
Dean, no thanks. I can get my own dates.
Yeah, you can, but you don't.
Okay. And he's saying, like, to Sam, do you want me to hook you up? So from this conversation, I knew this episode was going to be about relationships. They're kind of building that in. I was like, at the beginning, and these episodes have been like that. There'll be the monster of the week, and then they'll have a conversation that is the theme for the rest of the episode. So it's like, oh, okay. They're going to carry this through.
And then Sam's like, I don't need you to help me, like, pick up dates. And, I mean, they get a little bit confrontational because Dean replies, but you don't. And Sam's like, what's that supposed to mean? Because we never see Sam just flirt for flirting's sake, really.
No, not really.
It's always been for a purpose. It's like to get information or something. And it's always, I don't know, it's always kind of awkward. But obviously it would be awkward because, you know, he's thinking of Jessica. So, I mean, it's kind of like you said, it's definitely setting up for the rest of this episode. But even, like, they kind of move past that and Sam starts to explain, like, about this case. And again, I mean, obviously Dean's not thinking with his big brain, so he's not really paying attention. But, like, again, he doesn't believe Sam has a case.
No.
And so if you think in TV logic, we're getting towards the end of the season. So they've been hunting probably a good year, at least, at this point, right? It hasn't come to the anniversary of Jessica's death yet. That's for sure, because they would have made a note of that. But so my point is that it's still been a long time that Sam has been able to show that he can find cases. And the only time that Dean actually believes him is when he's like, well, Dad wrote in the journal. I'm just like, oh, that gosh darn journal.
Yeah, he definitely, like, is not on board until Sam's like, well, Dad said there's a case here. It's like, okay. To be fair, even then, Dean is like, but can this wait until the morning?
Yeah, like I said, he was not thinking with his big brain.
No. So the next day, already laughing. So the next day, the first scene we see is Dean asleep in the Impala with his sunglasses on. And he's clearly, I think, hungover. It just made me think, when I was that age, which was not that long ago, to be fair to me, we're talking, 27? That's not that long ago.
Yeah, no.
When did your hangover start getting really bad? Because if anyone here is listening their early 20s, oh, please, just make the most of it. Because by the time you get to your late 20s, 30, my hangovers are... Well, I don't drink as much now, but it's worse.
Like, I feel like my hangovers have changed. Like, they've gone from headache stages to where, like, I feel like super bloated and gross. Like, I feel like I've eaten 4 roast dinners the night before. I know before I used to get the headaches and, like, leave me alone, the world is spinning. But now I'm just like, leave me alone, I'm gonna hurl, but not. But yes, no, this is true. And so do you think it's a hangover, or do you think it's being up too late?
I think it's a bit of both. Because it's clearly implied he went home with Brandy.
And her friend.
And maybe her
friend. Because there was a friend there.
Yeah. So I think he's just been up late and probably drinking a lot. This is... Season 1 Dean is... I don't know. Like, the thing is, like, I find... Okay, this is the best of it. I find Season 1 Dean quite charming. I think he's quite funny. You know, always having a joke. I don't feel like we'd be friends.
No. I mean, Dean doesn't have friends, to be honest, does he?
Don't make me sad with a funny comment.
Like, not in season 1. Season
No.
1, there's no friendships present. I feel like maybe some of the people in his contacts are kind of ish friends, but not really. They're more like John's friends.
Yeah, exactly. So, it made me sad.
No, I'm sorry.
Season 1, Dean doesn't really have any friends. I'm just thinking about all the friends he does have later on, and I got a little bit sad about it. Anyway, from a funny moment where he like Sam like beeps the horn to like wake him up, he has that same look on his face that he got in Hell House, where he was waiting for Dean to turn the radio on. He did the exact same kind of face.
Oh, man, that's so not cool.
Is another gift moment that's everywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
I think Dean, like I've said this before, but Dean getting scared is my favorite Dean. So like, I don't know if it's exaggerated or if it's something that would actually happen in real life. Like, I don't know.
Have you ever been really scared? Right.
I flinch. I don't like flail.
One time, my husband he really scared me. Like he waited in the cupboard to jump out at me. This is the kind of pranks we play each other. And I found out I am apparently neither fight nor flight because I just sat on the ground. And I guess waited for whatever it was to just like eat me or attack me. So apparently, if I was in a horror movie,
You'd be the first one to go.
Yeah, there's no third option. People say there's fight or flight. Where's the give up option? Because apparently that's me.
I'm like crying over here laughing. So after Dean's flail, Sam basically tells him that there's nothing weird in the house, and there's no EMF readings, and there was no haunted history of the house, and that the house was empty.
Well, maybe it's the contents, a cursed object or something.
House is clean.
Yeah, no, you said that.
No, I mean it's empty. No furniture, nothing.
Where's all their stuff?
I don't know, I like that wordplay. It's kind of cool.
I noticed that Dean here suggests ghost or a cursed object, which, I have a thing about Dean touching things. So this confirmed to me that he knows that cursed objects exist, and yet
Yes.
still
He touches everything.
touches everything.
Everything.
Anyway. So one piece of trivia that one of our listeners sent to us about this episode was actually about where it's set, which is not really brought up much in the show. Like, I missed it, that it was in New Paltz, New York. And they said they just found it really funny because they've been there a few times. And the show just did not reflect the overall feeling of that place. Like, apparently, like, New Paltz is very sort of like, kitschy, like, lots of people doing like crafts, and sort of it's very sort of boho feeling is where I get from it. So like they said, the idea of there being this kind of really upmarket auction house like just would not fly there at all. So it must be really interesting for the people who live in these places or have visited places that are set in supernatural to go there and be like, oh, this doesn't look like a bit of Vancouver.
That's true.
Yeah, I don't know how much research they do on the places that they decide to use in the show, but I guess maybe it's not always matching up. But I guess it can be a little bit disconcerting when you see somewhere and you're like, oh wow, it's set like where somewhere I know, and it's like this isn't
anything like I know. Yeah. Because I mean, they do make up a lot of town names, but like sometimes they don't. Like they were in St. Louis, but like what area of St. Louis? I don't know.
Absolutely. I mean, me and you, I know this. We get the opposite problem, that where we grew up is used to film a lot of shows, especially a lot of like period shows.
Yeah.
And so I was watching Bridgerton, and I just was like, I recognize places, and it just brings you out of the story.
It does. It's so
I know
bad.
Exactly where that is. Why did they put gravel on that tarmac road? Like, just little things like that.
It's like, that door isn't that color. Like, what?
Exactly. So I guess the same thing happened for them here, like completely took him out of it, but it works the other way around. Don't live somewhere historical because people will come film stuff there and then you can't watch TV.
Yeah, that's our takeaway.
That is our takeaway. So thanks, Matt. We really appreciate you giving us that insight. And we're always happy to hear from people. Like, we read all your comments and all your little things, and it makes us so happy.
It does.
So it cuts to, I mean, I already knew it was an auction house because, you know, it had mentioned they bought in an auction. It kind of makes sense that that was where they probably would have taken their stuff. But the way they introduce it is by panning along the front ends of these cars. Did you notice that one of them has the license plate, the Crip, as in, I guess, Eric Kripke?
Oh, no, I did not.
Yeah, I guess a little shout out to Kripke there. And then the Impala is at the end. And I think it was supposed to be comparing the Impala to the other cars because it's kind of dusty. It's a little bit dirty. I guess it has like a map inside, so it looks kind of messy. But I was thinking, if you did go to a place like that and you saw like a 1967 Chevy Impala, I don't think it would be that out of place.
No, that people would be like, I want to buy your car. Like, it would definitely, people would be interested. And also, like, it was really dirty, like the front looked kind of banged up.
Yeah.
And we know that Dean loves that car, like just from later episodes. But even still, like there's been references to how much Dean loves the Impala.
Yeah.
That, like, I'm surprised at like how grotty it looked.
It really did. Like, I don't know what that says about their like state of mind at this point in this season.
Yeah.
Because I guess they're just going from one thing to another at this point. So there's no time to take care of the Impala or like take care of themselves. I think it's a good mirror for that.
Yeah, that's true. It's very true. And I mean, obviously, it's also there. Like, it's made up to be that kind of dirty because it's supposed to show, like, when we get inside, the atmosphere is very different.
Yeah.
To them. This all well-to-do, like, there's champagne flutes going around and hors d'oeuvres and all this kind of stuff, and everybody's in like nice attire, like their Sunday best, and you see Sam and Dean in their regular like hunter's clothes. Like, they didn't expect to have to like dress up for this.
Yeah, but it does beg the question, like, why didn't they? Like, maybe they could have got changed on the way. I guess they didn't have a motel yet because it shows them arriving at their motel later.
I mean, like, I feel like with most estate sales, you just go as you are. It's not until like someone approaches them to say that, you know, this is a private auction.
That's a good point. It's essentially a fancy antique shop, so you don't need to dress up to go antiquing.
No, exactly. So you don't really. So I feel like as they walk in, it's kind of focused more on Dean's reaction to like what's going on when they realize that this is not just a regular estate auction, because we see him like kind of react kind of standoffish against all this money. And I was just thinking, like, when was the last time he interacted with someone with like more money than sense? And I guess it was in Skin, and he had the same kind of reaction. Like, he kind of almost resented them for having like resented. Was her name Becca?
Yeah.
Right?
Oh.
In Skin.
I honestly can't remember.
But like Sam's friend who had that really massive house, he's like, "Oh, you're in this house all by yourself," kind of thing. I know he's obviously not comfortable around money, and then he kind of gets rude. He gets really rude and really arrogant.
Yeah, I think it's a defensive thing, right? So
yeah, it must be.
I think he resents those people because they tend to talk down to him. But Dean gets talked down to a lot, and I guess these people have less reason to talk down to him. Like, they're not in any. Yeah, I don't know. I can see why it would be a defense mechanism, but he kind of like acts the fool, I guess. He's almost
I
like
guess so.
inviting their criticism and then sort of gets angry about it. I don't know.
Yeah, and Dean is back to eating food.
Yeah, so much.
And talking with his mouth full.
Simon auctions, estate sales. It's like a garage sale for wasps, if you ask me.
Can I help you, gentlemen?
I'd like some champagne, please.
He's not a waiter.
An older gentleman approaches them.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Can I help you?" And Dean, again with the arrogance, is like, I'd like some champagne, please." At least he was polite. And like Sam's like, he's not a waiter. Though you can't, to be honest, you can't really tell because obviously the wardrobe department were having a bit of an off day because that shirt did not fit his neck. So they didn't, like, he wasn't dressed as rich as he should have been dressed.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't, it should have been tailor-made, I say in quotation, tailor-made for him.
Yeah, it should have looked, I can see why Dean thought he was a waiter. And it's funny, he was most polite to him when he thought he was a waiter.
Yes, that is true. Apart from, like, talking with his mouth full.
I mean, that's just Dean.
Yeah, that's very true.
So here they're pretending to be Sam and Dean Connors, and they're art dealers. I mean, they could be. I don't know if you would go to try and deal with art dressed in hoodies and things, but you could. Probably more so now in this, like, day and age. You could get away with dressing more casually.
And honestly, like, well, I guess because they're on the fly, so they have to say something.
That's true.
If it was on a regular store opening, I'm sure they would have gotten away with saying that they were art dealers.
Also, Sam does know about art, as we find out later on, so it was a good cover. Because if he did get quizzed, he would know some stuff. But we find out that this guy is called Daniel Blake, and he is the owner of the auction house, so they kind of picked the wrong person to be snarky with. He says to them, well, I don't think you're on the gas list. To which Dean says, like, oh, we're on there, Chuckles. Like, you've just found out who this guy is.
Which is, I mean, so in the previous episode, when Sam had the fake ID and Dean was saying, well, it's all about confidence. Like, I guess this is where it's coming in handy. Like, he's got that confidence plus mix with arrogance.
I mean, they just walk away from him, and, like, Dean takes his champagne as he leaves. So I guess he won this round. So Sam spots the I just put old creepy picture, and that's how I'm going to be referring to it in this episode. He spots the old creepy picture, sees a lady walking towards him.
Yes.
They kind of talk about art, which I didn't really follow because I know nothing about art. So I just put, they talk about art. Sam is flirting.
Well, so, okay, the way I saw it, so she asked the question, and then, like, his response was so mansplainy. I didn't like it. I was really annoyed. And I know it was a test on her part, but even still, like, ugh.
I didn't mind it because she was trying to gatekeep the art. She was testing him to see if he was really. But I guess she was testing to see if he was really who he said he was, if that makes sense, because they didn't fit in at this function. So, and as we find out, she is Sarah Blake. I presume that Daniel Blake is her father. So she might be trying to protect the business as well from these possibly shady people. But he passes her test, at least.
This is true.
And Sam introduces Dean, who is still eating.
Yep. He almost seems like astonished that she's not swooning at him. Like,
I didn't get. No, yeah, I get what you mean, actually.
Because he's kind of like, she asked a question like, along the lines of, "Can I get you some more quiche?" And he's like, "Nope."
I'm Sarah Blake.
Sam, this is my brother, Dean.
Dean, can we get you some more mini quiche?
I'm good, thanks.
And then there's some more interactions, and I don't know, it just felt like, I mean, it's definitely later on in the episode, but it's just like, dude, no, you're not being a nice person right now. Of course she's not going to be into you.
You're being rude. Your mouth is full of food. Like, just chill it. I mean, he does kind of a look between Sam and Sarah and is like, oh, she's into him.
Yeah, there is that too. And so Sam kind of asks about the entire collection, and just sort of, Sarah gives kind of a very brief overview that the couple was killed and this is their stuff. Then her father comes back, informs them that they are actually not on the guest list and that they must leave. And Dean's response again is like, all right, we don't need to be told twice. And he's like, well, apparently you do. I don't know.
I mean, he's right. Yeah, if they managed to walk in, it clearly wasn't like a private, like, security event. So it's quite rude. So they make their way to the motel and they're kind of like outside. and Dean is asking Sam how he knows about art, and he said that he took some art history classes in college to pick up girls.
Yep, to pick up girls.
I know.
Which, we're not that easy, come on.
Yeah, rude. But I like the kind of look that Dean gives him, like, oh, you know, I didn't expect that from you. And I was thinking, I didn't either.
This is pre-Jessica, so...
That's true, yeah.
We don't really... Again, I don't remember Sam in any, like, flashback episodes really laying it on thick with any girls, but at the same time, they didn't... Again, with Dean, they never showed them as late teenagers, like, you know, 18, 19.
Exactly.
So
yeah.
we don't really get to see them in their flirtatious prime. Or Sam in his flirtatious prime.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. I like it. I guess it kind of gives a backup to why he knows so much about art. And it kind of gives a little bit more insight into Sam, maybe before he met... Yeah, you're right, before he met Jessica. So... this is kind of the first time they've done this, but as they walk into the motel room, they show the key and it has kind of like a Saturday Night Fever silhouette on it. And as they walk in, the theme of this motel room is like a disco theme. It has like a disco ball. It's all black and silver. It's amazing. And I just love that they just look at each other and go like, huh.
In unison.
It's so great. I think this is when I kind of knew that this episode was going to be funny.
Yes, for sure.
That bit where they walk into the motel room. It's so ugly. It's
I mean, like, what other reaction would you get? Because, like, you go into hotel rooms now. Like, I get that they're not going to chain places. They're going to, like, mom and pop places. Yeah. So they're not always updating, but this is purposely updated. Like this is a choice. This is not like just randomly decorated. This is, we are gonna do a 70s disco room.
If you owned a motel, what theme would you make it?
I don't know. I've never thought about it. What about you? What would you do?
I don't know. I think there's something really good, like a real 60s vibe. And I mean like kitschy 60s. Sort of like big flowers on the walls. Yeah, I'd be in for that. That'd be great.
I don't know. I would probably... So, for like a business thing to like actually make money, I would probably do like 1900s and like go with this whole like ghost story thing. Yeah. Just because I feel like if you can claim that somewhere is haunted, people are going to show up.
That's true. Yeah, the ghost thing sells. You're right.
So for money, that's what I would do. For fun, I would probably do 90s because the 90s aesthetic is actually kind of cool. I'm not gonna lie.
But would that be with like blow up chairs? Because if it didn't, it's not really a 90s aesthetic.
Well, I was thinking more like, you know, like how doing all the like girl and boy bands everywhere, like posters and the ridiculous colors. I don't know. It's like, think Spice Girls splattered on the walls. Not literally, but like their whole like eclecticness.
Yeah.
Like that.
I love it. Butterfly clips everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. some baggy trousers and all that.
Wow.
Yes.
So in this ugly motel room, Sam explains what a provenance is to Dean because he asked Sarah for the provenances for that painting. Long story short, it's a bit of paper that explains the history of the item, so you can kind of see who it belonged to, and how it's changed hands. That's what I got.
That's what I got too.
And Dean says, like, well, maybe, like, you know, we can get those from Sarah. And then Sam's like, well, maybe you can. Like, he's kind of implying, like, Dean's the flirtatious one. He can go and get that information from a lady. But Dean's like, no. it's not my butt she was checking out. You need to take one for the team.
Sarah.
Yeah, maybe you can get her to write it all down on a cocktail napkin.
Not me.
No. Pickups are your thing, Dean.
It wasn't my butt she was checking out.
In other words, you want me to use her to get information.
Sometimes you gotta take one for the team. Call her.
Like, what? Like, he's heavily implying through this whole episode that Sam should be sleeping with Sarah immediately. Yes. And Sam's just like, no. Like, no.
I don't want to do that.
Yeah. But he does call her, to be fair.
They end up going to like what at first looks like a fancy restaurant. Sam just looks very uncomfortable. Like, it's like, I don't know, Sarah kind of calls him out straight away for not really being who he says he is. Because she's like, we're not like any art dealer that I've ever met. It's true, because he's not an art dealer. But like, he kind of just sort of changes the subject to something kind of really personal, of like asking like, well, why haven't you been on a, because they have like normal date conversation of like, oh, I haven't been on a date in a while. And he sort of changes the subject very quickly by asking her like, well, why haven't you gone on any dates? You're a very attractive woman. It's just like a little intense for like a first proper conversation.
Yeah. I mean, I was distracted through this whole scene because I'm thinking like, you're going on a date, Sam. Why didn't you style your hair to the good hair?
Also, I don't know. His hair wasn't that awful. It gave me like anime vibes in this.
I just think that I just stuck on the fact that he looks so good as a priest.
Yeah, he did.
In
he
Nightmare. Like, his hair looks so good. And then he's just not done it since. And I'm like, please, Sam, take a brush to your hair. Like, it looked so good. Yeah. Anyway.
Sarah's story is kind of like, it's trying to attempt a connection with Sam, because she, explains that a little over a year ago, her mother had passed, and then she was like emotionally cut off, basically. Mm-hmm. And then she says something along the lines of like, well, I know that she wouldn't want me to be this way. She'd want me to be happy. So I, turn my life around almost.
I mean, it's clearly relating her story to Sam's story with Jess. It's quite interesting, actually, because from the women that they meet through this season. So if you think about, the people that Dean's been flirting with, you think about Cassie, like she's very much... like his personality is kind of reflected in her. They're quite similar people. She's got a lot of like banter and very like responsibility driven, whereas like, I mean, we haven't seen Sam interact with a lot of women, but in Sarah we're saying, she's obviously very smart, very sort of like empathetic as well in the way she deals with Sam. She's very much, their personalities are essentially the same. It's interesting how they mirror them like that with their kind of I guess romantic counterparts.
It's true. That is very
what I'm
true.
saying is that she's a Sam girl.
Yeah,
but he's not very forthcoming with her, because he says to her like a few times like, oh, it's a really long story, and then she kind of throws that back at him when she asks him why he hasn't been dating. She says, oh, like, you're reasonably attractive, which he replies to like reasonably, which I think is quite funny. And then he doesn't...
Style your hair, Sam.
Yeah, style your hair. And he kind of makes like a face, like, and she's like, oh, let me guess, like it's another long story.
So what about you? You're a reasonably attractive guy.
Reasonably?
Why haven't you been out and about? Another long story for another time.
He's not being very forthcoming. I think he opens up later on in the episode, though, to be fair. So we cut to Dean and he's sharpening a knife, which...
Why is he sharpening a knife? We don't know.
I don't know, he's just sharpening a knife, it's fine. And it turns out that Sarah did give Sam the provenances, but nothing else happened because Dean's super interested in the fact that, like, did anything else happen? He's like, no, we just went to her house, she gave me the documents, came home, goodness. Like... Dean even says, like, well, you obviously like her. Maybe we could stick around and you could see her again, for a little bit, which is, they've said this a few times, that they could like stick around and spend time with people.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, how long are they really in one place? Maybe 3 days? Maybe
That's what
a
it
week?
looks like, doesn't it? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely not longer than, I wouldn't say even longer than a week.
No, I don't think it's longer than a week. Unless it's like a really difficult case, they're only there for a few days. So I think it's kind of nice of Dean to offer, I guess. But at the same time, Sam is completely right in this episode. Like, kind of, what's the point?
Yeah.
Like, he's not like Dean. Like, he doesn't want these like one night connections with people and then like going to the next town and like, you know, I don't think Sam would want to like sleep with someone he doesn't have a connection with.
Yeah,
you know?
definitely. Like, you kind of, I guess we kind of see that with the fact that, well, I know there was Cassie for Dean, but like that obviously didn't end well.
Yeah.
Emotionally for Dean. So of course he probably does prefer these like one night stands and, you know, one night connections.
Yeah.
Whereas Sam's relationship with Jessica was going well. Like, there was no, I'll get into this in a little bit, but there's no indication of like a possible breakup on the horizon. It was just like a violent end.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, of course I feel like when you get into a relationship and it doesn't naturally come to a conclusion,
Yeah.
you don't want to just jump to connection afterwards, because you still, you know, have feelings for that person before.
Exactly. I think, yeah. I guess, I don't know. I'm getting maybe a bit too deep into this. I guess like Dean hasn't had like a long-term relationship. I mean, even with Cassie, it was said that it was maybe a month or two. Like, it wasn't, it was intense, but not long.
Right.
And I'm sure you know, as I know, like, the first few months of a relationship are very different to how it feels like maybe even like 6 months in or a year in.
Yeah, definitely.
So, exactly. So he doesn't know how that feels. Whereas I don't know how long Sam was with Jess, but I imagine it was a while. He would know the difference between that and think like he wants that kind of connection, but can't have it because they're always on the road.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Anyway, just tangent.
It's a good tangent, and it kind of comes up in this episode. Like, it does come up again. Sam's looking through who has owned each painting through the Provenance.
Yeah.
And it shows 1912 that this I don't remember the last names of each family.
No, I don't remember.
Is literally the day that the painting is bought by another person. That night, they're murdered. That's basically what it comes down to. It's like 3 families. Dean's like, they're talking about like what they're gonna do about it.
So what do you think? It's haunted or cursed?
Either way, it's toast.
And then cuts to them doing like parkour over this like giant fence.
It was just so good, like heist scene. They were doing a heist.
Yeah.
Like,
they definitely were.
I noticed they were both wearing gloves, first of all, and like breaking into the security system, like cutting the painting out of the frame. It was a heist. And
it was a heist.
It's funny to watch them be so careful with the gloves and stuff, but then I realised, oh no, like when this goes missing, they will actually be after someone for this, and they did stick out like a sore thumb.
Yes.
Like the day before.
I mean,
so
I think no matter what they would have done, people would be after them. Sam specifically asked for the provenance of that painting, and then that night the painting's gone. Like, what? That's kind of fishy. So a thing about them like getting over the fence, do you think it's actually them, or do they have stunt doubles at this point? I think it's actually them.
I think it was them. I think it was. They did so much. I'm really bad at noticing when it's stunt doubles and when it's actually the actors, unless it's like original series Star Trek where it's really obvious. But I don't know. I'm going to say it was them because
Me too.
We already know that Jensen can definitely jump a fence. And like,
Sam's just tall enough to like pull himself up.
Exactly. So yeah, I think it's them. So they managed to get this portrait and they burn it, and like they're stood over it watching it burn. It's a great shot.
Mm-hmm.
And as it's burning, ooh, we see it spookily appear back in the frame. Ooh.
Oh, I actually really liked how they did this. This was really clever. It's very, like, I'd never seen anything like it before. Like, rewatching it, I was like, oh, that's really cool. Like, what's going on?
Good.
And, like, I feel like this may be my imaginings, but I do feel like the way that it was burning was the way that it was reappearing.
Yeah, I thought so too. Like, it burned back in, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, definitely. I liked it too. It was great.
Mm-hmm.
So we go back to the motel, and Dean's got a problem.
We got a problem. I can't find my wallet.
How's that my problem?
Because I think I dropped it in the warehouse last night.
You're kidding, right?
Oh, I mean, it's got my prints, my ID, well, my fake ID anyway, but we got to get it before somebody else finds it. Come on.
And he's freaking out. He thinks he left it during the heist, so they have to go and get it. And they go back to the auction house, and Sarah sees them while they're there. I just put Dean's in the background doing a casual lean while Sam goes and talks to Sarah.
Background Dean is another favorite Dean.
It's really good in this episode. Like,
yeah, for sure. It's so good.
If you don't ever pay attention to Dean in the background of kind of serious scenes, and it's good.
It's very good.
So Sam tells Sarah that they're leaving, so he's come to see her because obviously he can't tell her that he's there to find a lost wallet that they lost during a heist.
Of course.
And then Dean drops him in it.
We are leaving town, and we came to say goodbye.
Oh, what are you talking about, Sam? We're sticking around for at least another day or two. Oh, Sam, by the way, go ahead and give you that $20 I owe you. I always forget. There you go.
What a move.
It really is. All right. Ha, nice.
So, yeah, he had it all along. It was only a ploy to get Sam to go see Sarah again. I mean, great. And, like, Sam was completely taken in by it because his face.
I know. He did not see that coming, like, at all. Because his reaction was very realistic. Like, how do you lose your wallet? And I was thinking about this as they were like in this very short section of like, did he like pull it? It was in his pocket, because like for a woman, our women, our jeans are not great. Like our pockets are shallow, so like yes, it's fair. I've dropped like stuff out of my pockets all the time.
Yeah.
But for men, like they have super deep pockets. So I'm like, how did they even, like, maybe when he pulled out the lockpick, but that was outside. I don't know. So I was trying to think about it, and then he pulled a fast one.
It was great.
He never lost it.
He looked so worried about having lost it. I thought he'd lost it too. Damn it. Yeah. So it was all a ploy.
Acting.
I love this bit because as Dean leaves, like as he walks away from them, Sarah gives him a look like she knew what he did. not the actual detail of it. She knows he did something. Like,
yeah,
because she kind of gives him like a wink. I love it.
So was it a wink or more of a okay, you can leave now kind of?
Yeah.
Because I did go back and watch it, and like it's not a friendly look. It's a like, oh, okay, you can leave now kind of look.
Oh yeah, I guess it could be that as well. Like, oh, yeah. It's a dismissal, I guess. You're
yes,
right.
Yeah, definitely. It was a complete dismissal of like, no, I'm not interested in you, the brother, the rude one.
Sarah wants to kind of like see each other again, and Sam says, well, Dean was just messing around. We are really leaving. And then does the best. He sees the painting walk past.
Oh my God!
What?
That painting looks so good.
It was so funny. I had to pause the episode. It was so good.
Well, so the thing is, right? They deal with supernatural stuff all the time. So you would think when something supernatural actually happens after they've done something, he wouldn't have such a vicious reaction.
Like, play it cool, Sam. Yeah. I didn't even like write down what he said next because I was just saying he's playing it off, but he was blathering.
Yeah. Sarah's like, okay. Is like, definitely. Oh, God. She's just so cool.
I love her. She's great. I mean, the only thing that Sam gets out is telling her basically like, don't sell the paint, don't sell it, don't sell the painting, don't sell it. And like, who knows? Sarah's great. She takes everything in her stride. She's clearly decided that she likes this. Let's be honest, the interactions they have, very strange guy.
Oh, yeah.
So, and she's just going along for the ride. She's like, okay, he's now shouting at paintings. Let's go with this. It's great. The next shot is Sam and Dean getting into the Impala in unison as well, and I love that. Because they were clearly going to have a conversation, and they both got into the car to have this conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Rather than shouting out in the street like they normally do, as we've said before.
I guess they did commit like a felony, so they had to like. I mean, is it though? Not anymore. I mean, yeah, they
didn't
burned
steal
the painting,
anything.
but it's still there, so maybe not.
I said here they kind of look spooked about this painting being back, like more spooked than they would normally be. And I just put, do they think that fire solves everything? Because it was Dean's go-to for Hell House, but in Route 666 they set the truck, they couldn't set the I guess they couldn't set the truck on fire.
Yeah, well, so that's the thing. Like, I feel like they should know by now that their first plan never works. Like, what is it with TV logic that people could like? They never realize that their first plan is not gonna work because it's just too easy. But yeah, it's they were unreasonably freaked out because it wasn't. I guess because the danger wasn't immediate because it wasn't in someone else's house. Yeah. They had time to freak out. Whereas like with Route 666, the truck was going to kill them like right then and there. Yeah. So of course they would be freaking out.
I think the time to freak out thing is pretty good. I think if you have the time to freak out, you can. But you're right. Normally it's in the middle of a situation. You don't have the time to freak out about it. I like that. So they said that it's normally like the subject of the thing that's haunting people, not the actual item itself. So they need to find out about the painting, like the actual people in it. So, I mean, to do this, it looks like Sam goes to like a local bookshop, I think. And the bookseller there seems to have found all the information for him pretty quickly, which is super good.
He's like super into it. Like, yeah, his explanation, like the bookkeeper or the whoever it is that they're speaking to. I wrote local historian fan. I thought it was a library, but I'm not sure. It could be like an antique bookstore. Mm-hmm. It seems like the sort of town that would have it. I wrote here, I love this guy because it's not often that they got kind of like outside help too often. Mm. And when they do, they're not as enthusiastic as this man. He's so into it. He's, explaining the history. I only got that the patriarch of the family was Isaiah, but I didn't catch the last name.
Merchant.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Comes up. Yeah, so it's Isaiah Merchant. And basically, he murdered his whole family. And the rumor was that he murdered them because his wife was going to run off with his kids. And in the 1900s, you just didn't do that. So, of course, he had to kill his family because that's the sane thing to do.
And the important bit was the straight razor. And I was like, oh, it's a very Sweeney Todd vibe, I think. I think it's really funny that the newspaper he had, that it was a story on the same day the Titanic sank. Yeah,
I know. That's the thing that distracted me the most. I think they probably did that because they didn't really want to, like... It's easier to have, like, a big historical event rather than, like, I don't know, make it, like, more rooted in reality. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess so. I just thought it was quite funny. Definitely. With the guy's enthusiasm, though, if you've ever talked to anyone who is like a local historian, they never get the chance to talk about the thing they're interested in. So that's true. It's a full, like, it's so nice to see. They're just like, yes, I can tell you the thing I'm interested in. It's so great. Mm-hmm.
The way that he ends that story, though, of like how the whole family gets killed, he says he gave them all a close shave, and like Dean laughs, but honestly, so did I.
Yeah. Like
it was so dark, but it was so funny.
I've listened to my fair share of true crime, and I do feel sometimes I'm a little bit desensitized to it. So, I mean, Dean laughed along with him. I think Sam looked more like, this is serious.
Yeah.
But,
It's kind of affronted that, like, you made a joke out of, like, a man killing his family. I was going to say, it's kind of weird for Dean to laugh, because Dean's all about family.
But he does a very violent, serious job, and I think it's kind of like being a soldier. I guess you have to have some like gallows humor. Doctors as well, right? It's very, you have to joke about the things that are upsetting, otherwise they're just too upsetting sometimes.
For sure.
Yeah.
Definitely.
But so I mean, they find out there's a picture of the portrait in a book, and it looks different to the portrait that was in the house. The like father is looking away, whereas in the copy that they have, he's looking forward. So they're like, oh, okay, we need to go, like, we need to see what else.
Take a look at,
yeah,
what else is different in the painting. We then cut to the art house, or the auction house, and the father is reselling the painting, even though Sarah's told him not to, and, like, he's kind of a bit of a, he's being a bit of a dick. Let's just be real. And, like, because Sarah's like, well, you know, I told you not to sell that painting. And he basically took a lot of money to sell this painting, even though he shouldn't have.
Yeah. Like Sarah was trying to say, like, it's insensitive. Like, the people who owned it before have died very recently. Like, maybe you shouldn't be selling it straight away. You know, trying to get around it that way. But yeah, he's doing it for the money. So, you know. They go, we see Sam and Dean, like, back at the motel, and they're realizing that the painting has changed compared to the copy that they've taken from the bookstore. And they're saying, like, well, maybe other things have changed. And Sam says, like the Da Vinci Code. And Dean says, like, he's got, like, a blank expression in his face. And he's like, oh, I'm still waiting for the movie on that one. We didn't talk about it in Shadow, because Sam makes a point here that, like, he was surprised that Dean was reading something when they're on the phone. But they're so inconsistent with his character sometimes, because we know that he reads, like, he brings it up later in other seasons, like, things that he's read, or definitely pop culture references that he has that he only could have read. So where does this idea come from that Dean doesn't read? Like,
I don't know. I mean, it's also in keeping with the line of, like, he's not smart.
Yeah.
But he is.
Exactly.
But, I mean, I don't know. Maybe, because there are those people that will not read a book and will just wait for the movie. I don't feel like there's been any indication that he is not that kind of person.
Not yet. You're right.
Not yet.
Not yet. So, I mean, so, like, Dean says, like, well, you know, maybe we can go back and talk to your girlfriend, like, look at the painting again, look at the differences between them. And then they kind of get into a whole argument about it.
Dude, enough already.
What?
What? Ever since we got here, you've been trying to pimp me out to Sarah. Just back off, all right?
Well, you like her, don't you? All right, you like her, she likes you, you're both consenting adults.
What's the point, Dean? We'll just leave. We always leave.
Well, I'm not talking about marriage, Sam.
You know, I don't get it. What do you care if I hook up?
So maybe you wouldn't be so cranky all the time.
Yeah, I know Dean was big on the whole, like, you know, go sleep with her thing. And he kind of still is joking with him here, like, you know, you're really cranky all the time. Like, you just need to go out and, like, have some fun, you know. But it's not just about, just like most of Dean's jokes, it's not just about that, is it? It's he does get serious here and says, like, well, look, I know what this is about. This is about Jessica. This is the reason why you haven't talked to anybody. You know, you're not, like, pursuing any relationships, etc.
And I don't mean any disrespect, but I'm sure that this is about Jessica, right? Now, I don't know what it's like to lose somebody like that, but I would think that she would want you to be happy. God forbid, have fun once in a while. Wouldn't she?
Dean says, I don't know what it's like to lose someone like that. But she would have wanted you to be happy. And I had to pause the episode because I was like, oh no. It was get sad about Dean time. I was becoming a staple of these episodes.
Yeah.
Because I was like, You don't know what it's like to lose someone like that, but you will do.
No. Yeah.
But
But
yeah.
I don't know. So I have some thoughts on this. Because this line was the exact same line that Sarah used about her mother.
Yeah.
And, like, it makes sense from Sarah's perspective because obviously she shut down because of her mother passing away.
Yeah.
But Sam lost a girlfriend, which is a completely different relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And this is also where I realized we know nothing about Jessica. Absolutely nothing.
No.
Because Sam makes a face while Dean is saying that like, because he eventually agrees with Dean that she would want me to be happy and like move on, but like we don't know anything about her personality. All we know is that she was attractive, and that she was also at Stanford. Like that's kind of it.
I mean,
right?
Yeah. It's not just Jessica that gets this treatment in the show, though, is it? Like,
no.
If you think about the other women that have been fridged, Mary is the same for a really long time. Yeah. You know nothing about her other than she's a mother. That's it. That's all you know about her.
Mm-hmm.
That does change, but but Jessica never gets that treatment. She's Sam's girlfriend,
and that's it. And it's just like, so it's like how I think that's like what makes it so difficult to connect with Sam as well, because it's like we have no reason to connect emotionally with him on this subject. No. Of like why is he so upset about this girl we know nothing about, apart from that she was his girlfriend and she was murdered violently. Like, yeah, okay, that's gonna want you it's gonna make you want to get revenge, but not to the level that this is.
Yeah, they should have made us more invested in the Jessica Sam relationship by showing us the relationship.
Yes.
And what Jessica was like. And I think they could have come in the pilot, maybe. They could have had like little chats on the phone during that whole case.
Yeah.
Before they went back.
Definitely.
Or, Sam telling Dean about little things that him and Jessica had done. Just some mention of her.
Or like even every time that they like mention her in episodes, like they could have easily done some sort of flashback of their first date, or because we have no idea even how they met. Did they meet in their freshman year? Did they meet in pre-law? Did they like I guess he's still actually in pre-law, like, because when and where did they meet?
Little offhand comments like, oh, Jessica would have loved this, when they're like somewhere, or like, oh yeah, this was her favorite color. I don't know, little things.
I mean, they could have even brought it back to Sarah, of being like how Sarah was like a art major of some kind. We don't really know exactly what her connection to art was. Yeah. In terms of like formal education, but like, he could have made a comment of like, well, Jessica also liked art, and that's or something. But really, we know nothing.
We know nothing about her. Like, yeah. Again, it's not it's not the first time or the last time you're gonna get dead wife syndrome on this show. But I know they weren't married, but you know what I mean. It's the same in a lot of TV shows that the male protagonist will have a dead girlfriend or a dead wife, and that's cause for kind of emotional angst. I'm immediately thinking of John Wick for some reason, though we did know even a little bit more about his wife.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a tired trope, I'll be honest. I mean, this show's getting on now, so I guess it's again a product of its time. But I think there are shows on even now that use the same trope.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure. And like, it's I don't know. This is definitely a revelation moment for me, because it's like, would Jessica be happy? Because we've seen her as a ghost, kind of, or figment of his imagination. We have no idea. They didn't really clarify that. Yeah. And she looks pretty peaceful.
Yeah.
So, has she moved on?
Oh, this is. I just had a thought. Why did they've been? No, I'm not going to say it, actually. Never mind.
Say it. I want to know.
I'll totally say that. They've been to heaven a few times, right? Why
Oh
did
my
Sam
God,
never
yeah.
go see Jessica?
Uh-huh.
Because that would have been a conversation. That would have been a conversation.
Yes.
Like,
And that could have put a whole closure on his, like, emotional issues.
yeah. You know, she could have, I don't know, forgiven him for bringing, like, death down on her. Or been really mad at him about it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because we didn't get
They
to see
could've-
it.
No, we didn't. Ugh. That's so true. Fucking hell.
Yeah. So, yeah. No closure on the Jessica side. Yeah.
At all.
At all.
At all. Going back to the episode.
Yeah, I mean, Sam closes up this conversation by kind of saying, like, you know, yeah, she would want me to be happy, but it's not just Jessica. There's something else going on, but he won't tell Dean what that is.
Right.
And, you know, it's not just about Jessica. But he does call Sarah because Dean tells him to, so they can go and see the painting, and that's when they find out that the painting's actually been sold.
Yep, and he's like, to whom? Where is it?
So we see the painting hung up in a house, and suddenly it moves again.
Yep.
I really like this shot because there's like an older lady who we find out her name is Evelyn, and she puts her glasses down, and there's like a razor like reflected in her glasses.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. It's super good.
So this is why I thought the director of this had directed Bloody Mary, because they did the same thing when she's going after one of the teenagers, and he's like, she sees it in the teacher's glasses.
Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah, so it is very reminiscent of that. You're absolutely correct.
But I guess that's a stylistic choice. So they probably did that because they've done it before.
Yeah,
rather than directorial choice.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. So, I mean, all we see is that she like screams at something. We don't see what gets her. And so Sam and Dean arrive at Evelyn's house, and Sarah's there as well. And I like this because like Dean's like, I can't break down this door. I'm going to need to pick it. And Sarah's kind of like, who are you people? Like, are you burglars? And they get into the house. They see Evelyn from behind. And of course, Sarah walks up to her, and she does the like horror movie. Like, she touches her shoulder and her head like goes back. And it's like, oh,
that's
nearly off.
I don't know why that, out of this whole episode, that got to me. I was just like, ugh, I don't want to see that.
Yeah, it's
almost
grim.
decapitation is not a good look.
No. It was. I just put ew. See the painting, and the father is looking forward again. So it's like, oh, he moved.
Yeah. So, well, it's looking down, and then he's looking out.
Yeah, it kind of moves,
so
doesn't it?
They do see him move.
So they go back to the motel, and Sarah's with them, and like Sam kind of asks her if she's okay, and she's like angry because she had to lie to the police and say that she was there by herself and found Evelyn. She wants answers. She wants to know what is up. What is up?
And they tell her what is up.
They tell her, yeah.
Tell her everything.
Mm-hmm.
And she's in denial, which is fair enough. Like, I think anybody would be like, she doesn't... I think they eventually get to her because, like, well, you saw the painting move too.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is also where I'm like, I wonder if she's really like an art historian, because I'm pretty sure that there are like considered haunted paintings out there. There must be. This is not a out of the air trope. Like, this is, I think this is a very like because they a lot of their monsters of the week are from real things.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure there are like supposed haunted paintings.
Yeah, I think so.
So if you have, I feel like if you had like some sort of art history degree, you would learn about
haunted
some of them.
paintings.
Well, like, at least there would be that one kid who would want to always talk about, like, if you had to do like a project on a painting, they would pick one that was haunted because they're that kid.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, fair enough. So Sarah wants to help them, and right, okay, before we start aside on this scene, so the way it's set up is like, so Sam and Sarah kind of stood talking, and Dean is behind them on a laptop, and I just want to put that there was no reason for Dean to be in this scene, really, other than apparently to make faces.
And to be like the sort of ping pong watcher or tennis ball watcher, like watching the conversation go between the two people.
Yeah, he didn't need to be in this scene. So they're talking back and forth, and like Sam says, like, "Well, I don't want you to come with us. Like, I don't want you to get hurt." Like, it's all very heartfelt. Like, and again, Dean's face is hilarious.
Well, then I guess you better show me. Coming with you.
What? No. Sarah, no, you should just go home. This stuff can get dangerous. And I don't want you to get hurt.
Look, you guys are probably crazy, but if you're right about this, when me and my dad sold that painting, we might have got these people killed. Look, I'm not saying I'm not scared, because I am scared as hell, but I'm not gonna run and hide either. So are we going or what?
Sam, marry that girl.
And she says, "I'm scared, but I'm not going to go run and hide," which is it's very good in her character. And this is where, again, she's kind of like she is Sam, like his personality wise, because although I think most of the time Sam is very scared, I mean Dean is too, but especially Sam, like it showed when they were in Shadow, like asking if they were nervous and stuff with each other. But he never hides from a situation.
No,
he always goes and like faces it head on, and Sarah's very similar, and I appreciate her for that.
So they start comparing the two paintings basically, to see what's different, and they notice that the razor is closed in the original and open in the new one, or the current one.
Yeah,
and that the painting in the painting is different. So in the original painting, it's got like a hillside view, but in the current, like in the non-print version, but the actual painting they have now, it's a painting of a mausoleum. Dean picks up like an ashtray and like looks at, basically uses a magnifying glass, which I mean it works, I guess.
Yeah, it would work.
And on the mausoleum it says merchant.
So they're gonna go find that mausoleum. They go to a graveyard, and it turns out that's the third one they've been to.
I like how he calls it like a boneyard. Like he doesn't even dignify it with cemetery. It's like no, this is a boneyard.
Gotta be edgy, like come on. Sarah says like, "So this is what you guys do for a living?" And Sam kind of laughs. It's like, "Ha, we don't get paid."
So this is what you guys do for a living?
Not exactly. We don't get paid.
Well, mazel tov.
You know, I guess congrats on having a terrible job. Like what?
Basically, yeah.
So they find the crypt and they break into it. And Sarah says, "Well, this is the creepiest thing I've ever seen," because there's like some toys behind glass, like specifically like a creepy doll. And Sam says that it was apparently at the time, if they were interring children, they would put their favorite toy there with them as well.
It's kind of sweet.
It's
really.
kind of sweet, yeah.
Is it creepy though? Is it any worse than like it ending up in like a antique shop and someone buying it?
I think it's just the like children's toys in a graveyard vibe is kind of creepy and sad. You're right, it's sad.
I think it's more sad than anything.
I think it's very sad. But so Dean notices that there's an urn missing for the father. So that's it's a lead. And
so are they outside City Hall?
I thought they were. I thought it was a library, but then because Sam says that Dean had to like use lies and subterfuge to get in, I was like, oh, it's some kind of government building.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this whole like next sequence is like, it's so cliche.
Oh.
Like, I don't know. I didn't feel it. I was just like, but Sam is being basically extremely truthful at this point, like, saying that they lie and all this stuff. And she kind of has this look on her face like, well, you lied to me kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like, to get information from me. It's like, oh, yeah, well, she did. But then he distracts her by an eyelash and asks her to make a wish. And I was just like, ugh, eye roll.
Oh, no, I look, I'm a sucker for some romance. It was obviously a lie because I couldn't see an eyelash on her face, and maybe a distraction. But I don't know. I love like a tucking your hair behind your ear thing, or like a little touch to the face. Like,
aww,
that's my whole deal. So I was like, oh, it's cute, it's sweet.
But then it's also revealed of what the other thing is that Sam's hang up.
So Sarah asks, like, is there something between us? Like, straight up, good for you just asking, because he has been hot and cold with you, let's be honest, over this past day or however long it is.
Sam, can I ask you something?
Yeah, sure.
I don't mean to be forward, but girl could wait here forever. Is there something here between us, or am I delusional?
You're not delusional.
But there's a but coming.
But I don't think this would be a good idea.
Way to get someone to like you more is by saying, like, no, it's forbidden.
Right?
And Sarah says, like, well, why? Why is this a problem? And Sam says, like, it's because I like you. He says the whole thing. So he's like, you know, people around me get hurt. He basically describes the Winchester Curse, as I like to call it, that everyone's aware of, that anyone they get close to dies.
Yep.
So I was like, oh, he knows about the Winchester Curse then. He even says it.
Yeah, he does.
I don't know, it's like I'm cursed or something. Like death just follows me around. Look, I'm not scared of much, but if I let myself have feelings for anybody...
You're scared they get hurt too.
And he says, it's like I'm cursed or something. And I'm like, you are. I'm sorry.
Yep. You and Dean.
Yeah.
It's not just you.
Oh, stop. But he says, like, if I let myself have feelings, then you might get hurt. And he says, like, you know, it's not just like emotional. This is like physical. You will be in physical danger, like if we get close. Yeah.
Sarah's response is pretty good actually. She's like, well, you know, you don't get to make that decision for me because tomorrow I could be hit by a bus.
Yeah,
which is true. Like, and that wouldn't be a Winchester Curse because it's not supernatural. It's just a bus. So, while true, I guess that, you know, it's Sam's hang up.
Yeah, this is it. Yeah, it's definitely to do with Sam's issues, not Sarah's. Like, she's very much like live in the moment. I mean, she's decided to maybe pursue a relationship with this drifter guy that she's just met. She's living in the moment.
Definitely.
So, it's definitely his problem. I felt a bit sad for Sam here because I don't feel like this is an issue that he ever gets over.
No, I don't think so either.
I don't think there's a relationship that sorts this out for him. He doesn't ever see, and you know, there's nobody that lasts that doesn't end up getting hurt or dying because of him. I would argue maybe Eileen in the final season, but
she was dead and was brought back to life.
Exactly. I mean, maybe that showed him that it could work out in the end because she was brought back, but he never confirms.
Yeah.
Who Blurry wife is. So, I mean, as far as we know, Sam never got that. I mean, you know, he ended up with somebody, but I don't know.
But at the same time,
yeah,
like, we didn't see wifey. I mean, obviously they kept her blurred for a reason, but like, she was probably passed when he died.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
That's the impression I got. Anyway, let's not, because this is really sad. This is really sad. It's making me upset.
But yeah, look, they never dealt with Sam's relationship issues, is what I'm saying. They got very close to doing it, and then, I don't know, chickened out.
I guess so.
Because man pain is more important than a happy resolution.
Right. And I guess eventually this, like we've said, multiple times, it turns into Dean's story. So like, why would they resolve Sam's?
Yeah.
Like,
It's
as if they can't.
disrespectful.
It's like they can't write two parallel stories. It has to be one or the other.
I completely agree with you. I think they just couldn't deal with the like flipping back and forth sometimes. It's frustrating because I was like, it would have not. Okay, I'll just stay sad for a minute. It would have been nice to look at this conversation and be like, "Oh, Sam, you don't know what's out there for you. It's all gonna work out and be okay." But I don't get to do that.
No, I think that's probably what it was, because I wrote like it was a sad but generic conversation, because it never gets resolved. Like, so of course it's always going to be sad. Like, yeah,
for sure. Stupid show.
But Dean makes an entrance. Of course he does.
Of course he does.
And it's like, it's not even like a normal entrance. It's literally like him sideways. Like, did I interrupt something? It's like, who enters a frame like that? Like, completely like bent at the hip. Like, not even sort of walking up. It's like, peekaboo. So.
Yeah. So Dean's found out that Isaiah wasn't put with his family because obviously they thought that he had murdered them, so they maybe wasn't cool to do that. And he's giving a pauper's funeral, so his body is buried, which means they can go salt and burn it. So cut to nighttime in a graveyard, digging up a grave. Sarah's holding the torch for them.
And she looks like she is gonna hurl.
Yeah, she looks unhappy.
You guys seem to be uncomfortably comfortable with this.
Well, this isn't exactly the first grave we dug. Still think I'm a catch.
At some point, like, she's got to be like, yeah, no, this is probably not for the best, right?
She's still really into him through all of this.
I know.
Like, it's been a day, maybe two. Like, you've seen so much, like, and you're still thinking, yeah, this is a guy I could see myself with. Like,
this is viable.
Him and his brother are setting a body on fire. That's a crime. Desecrating a grave is a crime. You're participating in it.
I mean, breaking and entering.
Yeah, they've done that. Tampering with the crime scene.
Yeah.
That. Yeah.
I mean, maybe she's into the bad boys.
Maybe. I mean, it has to be at this point. So Dean salts the body. Sam pours some gas, and they light it. And I really like this because they did it as like shadows, and there's all kind of blue in the background as they kind of light the grave on fire. I don't know what it is. They really have the setting, like salting and burning a body, like aesthetic. Yeah. It's really good. It was the same. It is. Oh, which one am I thinking of?
Hookman.
Oh, that scene is good.
It is. I guess, I mean, they kind of have to, because if you take into context what's actually happening, it's gruesome. So they have to make it like not gruesome.
Exactly. So I like it. I appreciate it. It looks nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So they go back to Evelyn's house and they're going to go check the painting just to be sure, you know, because they have been burnt before. Dean says, like, I'll stay here. Make your move. And as Sam and Sarah are walking up the steps of the house, like, he turns on his radio. So the song that Dean chooses to play is Bad Time to Be in Love by Grand Funk Railroad. Which it's great because, I mean, the song when it's playing is like, oh yeah, we gotta like it's got something to do with love. I can't remember the lyrics. The name of the song is just great to me. The meta of that is just
right.
It's a bad time to be in love.
Like, this is like
and
absolutely.
On Netflix, This Is What It's Like, I'm in Love by Tony Phillips. So I don't know if it has the same resonance because I haven't watched it, but
it doesn't. It really doesn't.
I mean, it was great, and Sam's look as he just like turns it off, like, yeah, okay, that was maybe out of line.
And like, what are they gonna do? They're not exactly gonna hook up in this crime scene, are they?
I mean, you say that.
You would hope not.
Yeah, you'd hope not. So they go and look at the painting, and a big change has occurred. The little girl in the painting has disappeared, and it's like, oh.
Yep.
And so they notice that the razor has also gone from the picture. Suddenly, all the doors slam shut, and this has definitely happened before. Dean now can't get in. He did say when they came to his house before that he couldn't break down that door, so it's fair that he's not able to get in this house at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So Sam rings him and explains that it's the little girl, and it probably has been her all along. Her dad in the photo was maybe watching her rather than just being creepy.
Yeah. Yeah, because I guess I did notice that like the like hand position, I guess, looks like he's kind of gripping her shoulder.
Oh, that's pretty good. Dean tells him to hold off the ghost while he's figuring out what to do. And this is the first, like he says salt or iron. And I know they mentioned iron locks before in Asylum, but I think this is the first time he's mentioned iron as something that can hold a ghost off, maybe like physically.
I think so.
I think so too. This is why, like, this episode's so good. This is one of the best Sam lines that's ever been said.
What kind of house doesn't have salt? Low sodium, very safe.
Does your house have salt, Annabelle?
It does, yes.
Mine does too,
It
but
does.
only a little bit. Not enough to hold up a ghost.
So, saying that, I have a friend, and she was saying that, like, so I went to go visit her recently. She's saying she loves salt. I didn't realize how much she loves salt. Like, in her living room, she has one of those, like, really big things of salt. Like, she's gonna hate me, because, like, she said she was gonna start listening to this, but so I'm sorry. You know who you are. I'm not gonna say your name, but you know who you are. And, like, while I was there, I was like, you know, if there is a ghost, this is gonna be fine, because, like, I can just pour some in my hand because it's right there.
That's so great.
Like, it's the ones that it's not as huge as the ones that they later use for, like, making salt circles, but it's got that same kind of opening.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Good on you. So the little girl appears and she's dragging a doll that's dressed the same as her. This is the first time we see this, and I was so excited because Sam hits her with like a poker and she disappears. And it's such a good shot. It's so good.
So her like scream, creepy ghost face was actually kind of terrifying.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna
like
lie.
that.
She's like, that's so wrong. It's like, yeah, it really is. Seeing this little girl walking around dragging a doll, that's a like, she's a badass.
Yeah, definitely. I like Sarah. Yeah.
So there was an earlier line before they start all of this when they're in the motel room, and as she leaves, she's like, "Well, you know, come on, what are we waiting for?" And Dean turns around and is like, "You gotta marry that girl."
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's nice. I like her. Do you know what? Sam and Sarah would have worked out.
I think so too.
I think she would have happily become a hunter. Like, she was well into this. She was like, "Yeah, let's do it." Sam rings Dean again, and he brings up the doll, and it's a good job that Sarah's there, because she kind of says like, "Oh, you know, we used to have these kind of dolls in the auction house, and sometimes they would make them, you know, exactly like the children they were for, as in use their hair for the doll." So they're like, "Oh, okay, we need to destroy the doll." Dean drives off. He actually like puts the Impala through the gates of the graveyard.
He does, yeah.
I know. Full on driving through it. Very dangerous. Like, if he'd hit like a headstone or something, that would have done serious damage to that car. I mean, I think he still be able to drive it because it's huge. But
it's a tank. It's not like a regular car. Yeah.
Exactly. And he pulls up to the mausoleum, and he's trying, he breaks down the door again, trying to get into this glass case. This is so funny. As he's like, he's banging on it with his hands and stuff. He's like, can't get into it. And then he actually says like out loud, like,
Come on, Dean.
and like grabs his gun and shoots.
Because he uses the butt of the gun. He doesn't even. So he's got the barrel in his hand and he's whacking at the glass, and then he walks away like to try and find something. So it's just like...
with it like in his hand. It was a stressful situation. Look, we've all done dumb stuff.
Yes, we have. And I guess the editing of this, obviously, like, it feels like Sam and Dean are there at the same time almost.
Yeah.
Like, what's going on in the house is what's going on in the, like, very close by. But it's kind of, it's not. And, like, so it's kind of hard to imagine. Yeah, you're racing around, but, like, at the same time, you don't really know what the urgency is at this point, because like, we've just seen Sam get, like, flattened by this, like, desk thing, and, like, it's approaching Sarah, and Sarah's, like, almost screaming and all this kind of stuff.
It is funny to imagine, like, yeah, because Dean doesn't know what's going on in the house. That it's all chaos, and there's, like, stuff around, like, being thrown around and things. It's just him, like, quiet in a graveyard shouting at himself. He manages to set the doll on fire, although he does have an issue with his lighter. Again, it's, like, it's very ramped up because it's swapping between, like, Sam getting beaten up and, like, yeah, the ghost advancing on Sarah while Dean's trying to, like, flick his lighter. As he lights the doll on fire, like, Sam jumps in the way to save Sarah and, of course, lands on top of her, like, romantic movie style. And as the ghost kind of burns, she reappears again in the picture. So, yeah. And it's all back to normal. It looks how it's supposed to look.
Mm-hmm. And again, like, the way that they had made the painting regenerate burning, she did the same thing. Like, she burned back into the picture, which is really cool.
Yeah, I really liked it. It looks super good.
And again, this is I guess they've now established how salting and burning something, or burning like a ghost object, now looks. Like they've kind of settled on the burning visual effect. That's the word I was looking for.
You're right, because this looks like it could have been like season 12, you know, like the way that it burned, the ghost burnt out. Definitely, for sure.
And it's kind of like, it's kind of sweet because Dean, like, immediately calls Sam, like, as soon as it's, like, burned. Like, he's now completely forgotten that he's, like, alone with Sarah, and, like, because they're actually having a moment. And the phone rings, and, like, Sam seems annoyed. So it's just like, it's like they're finally having their moment, and Dean interrupts it, and basically it's like, you okay? Yes. And then like, that's the end of the phone call.
Exactly. Yeah, that's really good. I mean, at least he knows it's okay now, so he can drive back a bit more safely. So the next day, they're back at the auction house, and it turns out that the little girl was the adopted daughter, and it's implied that she had killed her previous family as well. And Sarah kind of is wondering why, like, why would she do that, and why was she a ghost? And Sam gives her this, like, explanation, you know, like, some people, they do bad things in life and their spirits end up bad. And, like, Dean says, like, I don't care, I just move on. Okay, yes. I don't know why. I thought that those two explanations that they try and give Sarah, well, I mean, Dean doesn't give her an explanation, is very, it very speaks to their character. Like, Sam wants to know all the history behind everything they do, wants to know why things happen, how they can, you know, beat stuff, and then what maybe happens afterwards. Whereas Dean's like, no, this is a job, we do this one, and it's on to the next one. Once it's done, I don't care anymore. Yeah,
definitely. Yeah. Only in these first seasons.
Yes, that's
I feel
very
like
true, actually.
After some, I'm not sure where the switch comes in, but, like, after a while, I think he starts, when his, like, black and white look in the world changes, is when, like, he starts to get curious about, like, why certain things are, but not always, but in certain times, for sure.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think he becomes more, he sees things from Sam's point of view a bit more, I think, like in later seasons, where he's more interested in what's going on as well.
Yeah, he gets a little bit salty because he's kind of standing around sort of waiting for thanks, basically.
Yeah.
He says it under his breath.
I'll go wait in the car. See you, Sarah. I don't want to burn the doll and destroy the spirit, but don't thank me or anything.
You don't always get a thank you, Dean. Like, sometimes, like, this whole time he's been pushing Sam on her, and then, like, now he wants recognition. It's like, no.
No, you've been like weird this whole time. Like, I don't think Sarah likes Dean that much, to be honest.
No,
they don't really interact at all.
And every interaction, he's got, like, cartoon face, like raising eyebrows and being silly.
Exactly, yeah. He's acting probably really mature. So Sarah says, like, oh, look, there's a lesson, you know, there's a lesson here. We all got through it. We're all in one piece. maybe you're not cursed. And she said, maybe you'll come back and see me. And Sam says, I will, which is nice.
Yeah. So this is where I noticed the theme.
Okay.
This is where it starts. Like as he leave, like because they have their conversation and then he like leaves, and there's this little twinkling. And it plays throughout this whole next section because there's no real words. Like, you know, he comes out the door and we see Dean, and Dean's waiting, and then like Sam turns around and opens up the doors again, and it's all happily ever after for 2 seconds.
Oh, yeah.
they have a nice little kiss.
They do. His nose gets really squished. That's the only thing I noticed about that kiss.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
But so yeah, this, and then the episode ends. And so that whole, like, I guess 30 seconds of the scene, there is this theme playing. So I think it's Sam's. And it's used in the same way of, like, well, not the exact same way, but it's used in a similar way for, like, showing emotional growth, I guess, because he's almost letting go of Jessica.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I liked that the end of this episode was nice, in that it was kind of like, you know, happy. He kind of finally let that go. I do wonder, like, I guess it's just showing that he's kind of, you know, moving on a bit from Jessica by kissing Sarah, I think.
Yeah.
But it's sad because they're still leaving. They're literally leaving. And as he decided to let go of that, he now has to leave Sarah. It's pretty sad.
Well, do you think they actually left? Or do you think,
I don't know. That's a good question.
He stayed and, like, for, like, a couple of days, and then they moved on? Because, like, I was just thinking about it, because he almost has a moment with the girl in Hookman, and I guess that's the beginning of his, like, his realization of, like, if people get close to me, they get hurt, because she almost does get hurt.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, maybe she is the only one who survived.
she's the blurry wife. No.
Oh God, can you imagine? So I'm gonna put it out there. You ready? Laurie is blurry wife.
The only one who got out alive. Oh no. And I say that because I had a thought. I was like, oh, he does say that he'll come back to Sarah, and I was like, oh, did he? And then I remembered, and then I got sad.
What did you remember?
So we do see Sarah again, but not until season 8. Yeah,
not until season 8. So we got a few seasons to get there.
Yes, we do. I wonder what happens to her. I couldn't possibly guess.
I mean, who knows?
Who knows?
She comes back for a reason, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's got to be plot thickening.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. There's a few that come back in later seasons, and you know, people come back and they come back. That's what I'm saying.
They come back.
They come back. They come back to the show. Yeah, I liked this episode. I really enjoyed it.
I did too.
I really enjoyed it. It was a nice Sam episode. I think it gave a lot of character development to him, a lot of emotional growth, as you say.
Yes.
So, Annabelle, what's next week's episode?
Next week's episode is Dead Man's Blood.
Ooh, it's got to be vampires, right? It's got to be vampires.
Yep.
Yes.
It is.
Yes, vampires.
It is.
Why am I excited for vampires? Sorry.
I don't know. I don't know why you're excited for vampires, because this episode also features my favorite character.
Explain.
I'm kidding. It's John. John
John.
comes back.
John comes back. We're in the final 3 episodes. It's happening.
Yep. He's probably going to be in all of them, I think.
Yeah, I think so. And the last 2 episodes are kind of almost like a part 1, part 2 stitch.
Yes, they are.
Yeah. I think we're going to do separate episodes for them, though. Otherwise, it'll be super long.
Yeah, we wait too. Our episodes are already really long. So
No, it's really long. It's fine.
So we will break it up for you. I don't know. But so as soon as I saw the episode name, I was also like, oh, it's vampires.
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny because, like, I feel like all my vampire hunting knowledge should have come from Buffy. But
yeah,
actually, a lot of it is now supernatural. Like, I don't feel like Buffy ever used dead men's blood to subdue a vampire. Like,
no,
she
no,
just
definitely
always...
not. I mean,
I guess because she was a slayer, so she didn't have to.
she definitely carved some heads, though, right?
Oh, yeah. Yes. Yeah, I think so. So that would be the end of this episode. You know, again, we had some emotional growth in Purgatory. Not as much as I would like. We stopped, had a little fling, but we must carry on. We'll see you next week.